Hello and welcome to Finally Flourishing, where we give you information, resources, and encouragement in all things faith, finance, and flight. And today we're talking about 10 things my mama never told me about money. Alright, before I start, huge disclaimer. I love my mama, and I even went over this list with my mom, and she obviously learned a bunch of stuff that she didn't know before, as I had been going on this financial journey for the past couple of years. And my mom loves me so much, like I'm sure majority, I hope, of your parents do as well, but they can only teach us what they know. So unless you're watching this and your parents are super financially well off and they're like millionaires, so they were able to pass it down to you, our parents can only teach us what was taught to them, which, for at least my parents, not being in a great financial situation, they weren't able to teach me great financial habits. So I went out and I learned all of this stuff through education and through experience. And so I wanted to share those things with you so that hopefully if you haven't made these mistakes yet, that you won't make them. And if you have and are still making them and didn't know that, then like we can get on the, then you can join me on this financial journey and we can be out here. Also, last thing, some of these are probably going to be a bit controversial because there are so many different opinions on finances and stuff like that, and what works, what doesn't work, what's right, what's not right. So yeah, whatever works for you, this is just what works for me. Number one, there is no such thing as good credit. You heard me starting off this video about to hurt everybody's feelings. Now I'm playing, but seriously, there's no such thing as good credit. You might be like, what do you mean, girl? My credit score is 800. Yes, there's good credit. You're really blowing your nose, and that's fine. That's great, because I was like that too. I had an excellent credit score until I figured out what credit actually means. Like, let's break it down. For example, let's take your FICO score. So, excuse my handwriting. It's awful, especially on whiteboards. What is it made out of? So, 35% is based on your debt history. 30% is based on your debt level. 15% is based on the time that you've been in debt. 10% is based on new types of debt. And another 10% is based on the type of debt. So what do all these have in common? Debt. That's all your credit score is talking about. It's made up of, it just tells you how good you are at borrowing money and paying it back. It tells you how well you are at managing owing money to other people. It's not something to be proud of if you really think about it. Like, oh my goodness, I manage my debt so well. So all credit is pretty much bad credit because credit sucks. So you might be thinking, well, how am I supposed to do anything without credit when all these different things require you to have credit checks? Well, that's a topic for a different video, but we're on this one. So the second thing is that the way you think about your finances actually affects them. And I don't mean visualization and stuff like that. Like, if that's your thing, like, great, but I'm talking about the way we've been taught to think about money and how we handle situations. For example, let's say, there's an ice cream truck. You guys know ice cream trucks love ice cream. So, and you want to get an ice cream sandwich. Yes, that's an ice cream sandwich. But you also want to get a sour baby. I don't know if y'all know what those are, but they had little crybaby faces and stuff like that. Sour baby's great. So the ice cream sandwich is $2 and the sour baby is $3.50. And your mom only gave you $2. So then what are most people going to do? Well, obviously, I can't get the sour baby. Even though I want both, I'm only going to get this one because that's what I can afford. Well, see, what happens when you do that is it turns your brain off from thinking of other ways that you can make money so that you can get both of these. So what might someone do in this situation? So let's say you don't turn your brain off. Let's say you're thinking and you're like, I want both. How can I get both? So instead of buying the ice cream sandwich, let's say you practice some delayed gratification. Oh my gosh, we're going crazy around here. And let's say you actually wait. And so you take the $2 and you go to the store. Look, you're walking to the store. And you decide to buy a 6-pack of sodas. Yes, that sodas, just work with me. And you decide to buy a 6-pack of sodas. And then you go to school and you sell each of those sodas for $1 each. You've got $6 and you have enough to buy both. And that's just an example of how our brain works. And there's so many amazing ideas that you can think of when you don't shut yourself off from other ideas. Just because you can't afford it right now, or just because you don't have enough money to get it right now, doesn't mean that you can't think of a way to get it later. And this is not to encourage greed or saying like you need to buy everything all the time and just make more money so you can buy everything, but it's saying don't allow your brain to be lazy. When you're asking, well, how could I afford this? It's making your brain exercise and come up with ways to do it. And even if you never did go out and buy, the 6 sodas and sell it, and you're just like, I just want this ice cream sandwich today, it's not that big of a deal. Your brain is now working and thinking, and you know that you could do it. So the big thing with number 2 is changing your perspective, changing your paradigm, changing the way you think about and the way you see money and the way you solve problems. All right. Moving on to number 3, something my mom definitely never told me was that you don't have to go to college. And you might be thinking, well, what does college have to do with anything? What does that have to do with money advice? Well, actually, college has a whole lot to do with money advice. And I will tell you as soon as I'm done erasing this. All right, so let's talk about college. So for me growing up, college was never an option. It was you go to school, you finish high school, you get your diploma, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a good job, you work for 30, 40 years, however many, and then you retire, and then you can go live your life after that. That is pretty much what I was raised to think, which is what my parents were raised to think, so I can't really blame them for wanting me to do what they never got to do because neither of my parents went to college. But today is a different day and age, and whereas in previous generations having a college degree basically guaranteed you a job, that's not the case anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, if what you want to do in life requires a college degree, by all means, of course, go to college, go follow your dreams, go do you. But if what you're doing does not require a college degree, I personally would suggest figuring out a way to get it done without a college degree. Experience is so valuable in the work field now because so many people don't have it. Let's say you start looking at the numbers. So the average amount of student loan debt for the class of 2017, which in whatever year you're watching this is 2018. So this would be the class that just graduated, is $39,400. It's almost $40,000, and most of them, it's going to take them at least 20 years to pay it all back, with the average student loan debt amount being $350 a month. Who wants to pay that if you don't have to? Nobody. And a statistic that I'm sure that most of you are familiar with is the fact that Americans owe over $1.48 trillion, Trillion, yes, trillion dollars in student loan debt right now. Like trillion with a T. That's absolutely insane. But with all that being said, I'm not telling you not to go to college. I'm telling you that you don't have to go to college, because I was never given that option. Currently, I'm not in school, dropped out of college. Actually, funny story, worked out great for me. Not saying you have to do that, but there are other options, and that's really, really all I want to say. Because when you're looking at this amount of debt coming straight out of college, that's crazy, especially if you don't have to have it. There are so many different opportunities online, and there's just so many different things that you can do nowadays that just don't require a college degree. Consider going to trade school. If you have an undecided major, don't go. This is the most just insane thing I've ever heard in my life. But again, that's a topic for another video. Moving on. Or instead of going to these huge colleges, why don't you just go to community college? You're getting the same education most of the time, and you're still coming out with a degree, or transferring over. Or how about taking a certificate course, because they have certificate courses. Like, for instance, I know where I live, there's a course right up the street at the school where it's $5,000, and it's for a front-end web developer, and on average, I believe they get paid $60,000 to $70,000. And with a 6-month course for $5,000, you can be making more than some college graduates do. So I don't know, it's just something to think about. And number 4 is don't be driven by fear. A huge reason that my parents, and probably your parents too, told you have to go to college is out of fear that you won't make any money. out of fear. They don't want you to end up in a situation where you cannot provide for yourself and they aren't here to be able to help you. And in their mind, because like I said, when they were growing up, college meant good job, meant successful life, meant good future. If you went to college, you made it. And that's just not the case anymore. And also, don't be driven by fear about any of your financial decisions. If you don't have that much money right now, don't keep the fear of not having money. And if you have a lot of money, or if you hope to one day, that's fine, but don't be tortured with the fear of then losing that money. And wanting financial security is great, but money doesn't cure fear. So if you want to get money in hopes that you're going to not have that fear anymore, you won't have the fear of not having money. Your fear will just change to then being afraid to lose that money. So ditch it. It's not something you want to be carrying around with you. Number 5, money does matter. I know oftentimes we're told money doesn't matter, blah, 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 blah. And it's crazy because the people who are oftentimes telling you this are working 40, 50 to 60 hours at their job. And I promise they're not doing it for smiley face stickers, okay? So if money didn't matter, then why are you going to work for it, okay? Unless you volunteer and that's what you do for your full time and you refuse to take payment for anything ever in life, then you can't say money doesn't matter. Money is a resource. And so many people say stuff like money doesn't matter because they feel like it will make them seem like this greedy, evil person. And that's another thing. So many people will grow up hearing money is the root of all evil. That's not right. Actually, that's a quote from the Bible, and that's a misquote from the Bible. The Bible actually says the love of money is the root of all evil. All money does is exaggerate who you are as a person. So if you are a greedy, selfish person, money is going to enhance that, and you're going to be more greedy and you're going to be more selfish. If you are a naturally giving and generous person, money is going to enable you to be even more generous and to give even more. But on that same token, you shouldn't be working for money. You should be making your money work for you, which goes right into tip number 6, which is buy assets. Now, there are tons of different kinds of assets that you can look into, and if you guys want me to make a video on the different types of assets, then I will definitely do that. But for the basic definitions that we're sticking with now, and if you disagree with my definition, that's fine. But I'm drawing this definition from a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Hold on, I have it over there. It's sitting somewhere. Should I find it? Give me 1 second. All right, got it. Here it is. This is the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And basically the definitions that he outlines in the book are that an asset is something that makes you money and a liability is something that takes your money, okay? And so if it's taking money from you, then it's not an asset. Your house is not an asset. Your car, your TV, and all these other things, none of those things are assets. Those are all liabilities. And that's one of the major differences between people who have money and people who don't have money, is people who have money are spending their money in assets, things that are going to make them money, whereas people who have less money spend all of their money every time they get, they're going out and buying something else, something that's not going to make any money, something that's going to depreciate in value over time, and something that they're probably going to throw away within the next 2 years themselves. So it doesn't make any sense. The 7th thing that my mom unfortunately never told me was to only buy what I can afford. And although this may sound like common sense, why would your mom need to tell you that? Well, it's because most people don't really know what they can and can't afford. So there are 3 rules of thumb that I have heard a lot of financial advisors talk about. And one of those is if you can't pay for it in cash, you can't afford it. I personally adhere to this rule, and that means things like houses, things like cars, weave, TVs, like buying things on credit, having to take loans out, stuff like that. If you can't pay for it in cash, then you can't afford it. Another one that is commonly subscribed to is if it ain't in the budget, you can't afford it. So if it's something that's not in your budget, then you shouldn't buy it. And the last one, this one is not as commonly known. It is actually pretty controversial. It's the rule of 5. If you can't afford 5 of them, then that means you can't afford it. So if you want to, I don't know, get a $1,000 TV and in your savings account you don't have enough to buy 5 of them, so $5,000, then you can't afford it. And I get it. I feel like it's just the principle that you should not be depleting your entire savings account buying one item. You should have more money than the item that you're paying for. So, hey, you gotta do whatever works for you. Number 8 is to get rid of the entitlement mentality. Oh my goodness. And my generation, us millennials, we get so much crap about this. Like, ugh. And it actually it makes me sad because I know a lot of millennials who are very entitled, but I also know many who are not. So, you know, we're not just going to put this in a generational clump, you know what I mean? But we have been kind of coddled in the sense that when you're in school, you know, you're getting participation awards, and you're getting an A for effort, and you're getting graded in some cases on your feelings rather than actual facts. And so then when you got into the real world, some people really expect that they're going to be awarded because they somehow earned it, even though they didn't really do anything or accomplish anything. For example, when you go to a job, they don't pay you for applying for the job. You get paid when you get the job. And then once you get the job, you don't get paid because you tried really hard. You get paid when you meet deadlines. You get paid when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Athletes don't win trophies and awards and medals for trying. They win for actually winning. And so that's something that a lot of us have to shake off and have to outgrow, is the idea that the world owes us something, because it doesn't. You may not have known I was going, but I was. As you can see, my whiteboard fell down. Those command strips finally gave out. They actually lasted way longer than I thought they would, so shout out to you, command strips. But back on topic with the entitlement mentality. And a popular objection that I hear when I'm talking to people about stuff like this, they say, oh, well, you know, all those rich people have like a silver spoon and they have blah, 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 blah. Here are a few fun facts that really disprove that. The 400, or the Forbes 400, is a list of the 400 most wealthy people in America, period, like billionaires. And actually, the most recent statistics show that 69% of the billionaires on that list are self-made. Like, they didn't get handed down to them. They didn't have like all of these different advantages and stuff like that. Like, they built themselves from the ground up, pulled up their bootstraps, and got out of the mud. Like, so if they can do it, you can do it. Like, and I really mean that in all seriousness. And so many people will say, oh, well, my situation is this, my situation is that. But the truth is that someone has taken the exact same situation you're in and won with it, if not worse. So, but we'll get to that later. Number 9, money will not solve your problems, period. And I know you're probably like, oh, well, my mom definitely told me that one before. But think about it. Do we actually believe it? Do we actually live like money won't solve our problems? How many times have you said, because I know I was super guilty of this, if I only had X amount more money, then I would be fine. Or you look at somebody who does have a lot of money, you say, well, if I had that much money, then I would be doing blah, 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 blah. Or then I would not be in that much debt if I had that much money. Or I wouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck if I had just $20,000 more a year, or whatever the case may be. But the truth is that it doesn't matter, because money does not magically teach you discipline and self-control and ingenuity and motivation and all this other stuff. Like, prime example, lottery winners. Statistics show that 70% of lottery winners end up broke within just a few years of getting the money, because when they're giving them the money, they're also not giving them like financial courses and teaching them all of the characteristics that you have to have in order to be successful and to maintain and to keep that money. If when you have $20, you splurge and spend it all, when you get $20,000, you're still going to splurge and spend it all. You getting more money isn't going to change that, which brings me to my 10th tip, is get financial education. Oh my goodness. Like, this has to be one of the most slept on principles ever. It's actually getting a genuine financial financial education. In most schools, it's not even taught anymore, or it is, and the econ classes are trash, and all of it's stuff from like the 1960s. It's not even relevant in today's economy, and the money stuff is all like with dated information. It's just bad. It just got a lot of bad stuff going on here. And one reason I titled this video 10 things that my mama never told me about money is because if you don't have someone who is making a lot of money, they're not, like, how are they going to teach you how to make money? You know, I know you know. I'm about to say something and you gonna know exactly who I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna pop into your head, send them this video. Send them this video. I'm for real. You're not about it. You're not about it. But we all know that person who knows everything about something that they have not done. You know what I mean? Like, they know everything about money. Like for instance, I have a friend who has a supercar, and he says all the time that so many adults, he's 18, that so many adults will come and tell him, you know, that is an irresponsible way to be spending your money. You should be investing it. You should be blah, blah, blah. And some of you may think this is kind of a jerkish thing to say, but he often says, okay, so what do you do with your $250,000 in excess income? Like, and obviously majority of them can't really answer that because they don't have that much money. So when people are giving you advice and they don't have any money, obviously take it with a grain of salt. Just because somebody, you know, isn't there doesn't mean that what they're saying isn't true. But there's so many resources now that you can go to people who actually are making money and go to financial advisors and financial planners and stuff like that and get your life, get your financial life. And it's so sad just to see the way that the world, that the culture is set up, that where you can buy an $800 TV, nobody blinks twice. You say you're going to put $800 into the stock market or investing in self-education. You want to go take a course or something like that, and people looking at you like you're crazy. And they're the ones that are crazy, because that $800 on that TV, you're guaranteed not to make any money from watching it. 100% guarantee. But then putting the $800 in something like the stock market or investments or your own business, there is a chance that you're going to make a return on your investment with that. Whereas with the other things that we buy, there is a guarantee 100% that you're not going to make anything from it. So please get financial education. If you guys want me to make a list of the books that I recommend concerning financial education, I can definitely do that. And also, there are so many different courses and resources that are even for free on the internet that you can look up. And no, this video does not count as financial education, but I do hope that you learned something from it. And because you stayed to the end of the video, I'm going to give you a bonus. And this is something that my mom never told me, but I have definitely come to learn. And it is that people who make money don't make excuses. And I already know that there are probably going to be a few comments under this video of people talking about why their situation is different and why they can't do this and why they're not at this place in their life. And anytime I watch finance videos on YouTube, I always see those comments. And if that's the mentality you have, remember we're talking about the way you think about stuff, your perspective, your paradigm, then you know you're not going to ever make any money. If all you can think of is the excuses that you have and the reasons that you can't, then you won't. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with somebody so we can be out here saving people's financial lives. And be sure to subscribe if you want more content concerning finance, faith, or flight. If you want to be involved in a community of women that are also trying to flourish in those areas and you want exclusive information and exclusive resources, then we actually have an amazing membership site called finallyflourishing.com, and I'll put that in the description below and you can check that out and see if it's something that will be right for you, because, you know, we out here doing big things, I'm telling you. And always remember that you were truly made to thrive. Thanks for watching.